Hello friends, welcome to Biology Concern. I'm Animesh, and in this video I'm going to discuss about membrane transport in a brief manner so you can understand the topic very well. So basically membrane transport is a phenomenon by which small solutes, ions and some other molecules that is transferred from one side of the cell to another side of the cell by this membrane. Okay, so if a plasma membrane is there, so this is a plasma membrane. Okay, so from outside to inside or inside to outside, this term is known as membrane transport. So membrane transport basically divided or subdivided into two categories or broad categories, that is passive transport and another one is active transport. Okay, so in passive transport means it is along with the concentration gradient, okay, concentration gradient. That means from high concentration to low concentration. Okay, from high concentration to low concentration. And basically in this manner or passive transport, ATP or energy does not require. Okay, and another form is transport is active transport. In this case ATP or energy is required. Okay, energy is required and it is against the concentration gradient. It is against the concentration gradient. That means from low concentration to high concentration, the travel of the molecule from low concentration to high concentration. And the examples of the active transport is ion transport or ion channels, endocytosis and exocytosis. Okay, and the example of passive transports are diffusion and osmosis. Okay, diffusion further classified into two broad categories. One is simple diffusion, another one is facilitated diffusion. Okay, so simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. So in the simple diffusion, so if we consider this is a plasma membrane, so small molecules can easily pass through the plasma membrane. Small molecules can easily pass through the plasma membrane like gases, oxygen or carbon dioxide, etc. So these gases easily transport from one side of the plasma membrane to another side, and it does not require any kind of ATP or energy. And in this case this phenomenon is known as simple diffusion. So basically this one is known as simple diffusion. Okay, so another one diffusion is facilitated diffusion. So in the facilitated diffusion, some molecules which are big enough and they cannot cross through the membrane. Okay, so if we consider this is a water molecule, okay, so this is a water molecule H2O or a glucose that is a large molecule and it cannot pass through the membrane. Okay, so these molecules cannot pass through the membrane by itself. Then a carrier protein or channel protein is helped to transport those kinds of molecules. So here a channel protein or transport protein can help this kind of molecule to transport from one side of the region then next side. So these are the channel proteins or transport proteins. Okay, transport proteins. So in the case of H2O, so in the case of H2O, the channel protein is known as aquaporine. So basically, porine means a protein that has pore. Okay, so it is a protein that has pore. That means it is a pore creating protein. Okay, so it is basically creating pore creating protein. Okay, so it basically creates a pore in the plasma membrane. And aqua comes from water. So aquaporine particularly helps the water molecule to transport from one side of the plasma membrane to another side of the plasma membrane. Okay, another example for glucose, that is the glucose transporter protein. So basically GLUT are some channel proteins. They will help only to transport glucose molecules along with their concentration gradient. Okay, so basically GLUTs help the glucose molecule to transport from one side of the plasma membrane to another side of the plasma membrane. So this is the facilitated diffusion. Osmosis is observed in the water. In case of water, osmosis is observed. Okay, so from low concentration it is comes to the high concentration, and it is makes a equivalent or univalent structure concentration. Next thing is that active transport. So active transport needs ATP or energy, and it is against the concentration gradient. That means in plasma membrane we have observed several kinds of structures or some specific specialized structures that is known as sodium potassium ATPase transporters. Okay, so that is known as sodium potassium ATPase transporters. Okay, so sodium potassium ATPase basically in its inactive condition. So in first, this is the inactive condition. So in inactive condition basically it is remain as it is. So whenever an ATP is close associated with this particular protein or channel protein, then the protein gets activated. Okay, so whenever in step 2, whenever ATP comes, so ATP comes and it generates ADP, so adenosine triphosphate to adenosine diphosphate, and a single phosphate, that is inorganic phosphate, is bound with this particular sodium potassium ATPase transporter. And in that time sodiums are attached with particular these channel proteins, because the sodium concentration is higher in outside and sodium concentration is lower in the inside. So in this case the channel flips to outside. Okay, so whenever this channel flips to the outside, then the sodiums comes to the outward. So sodium molecules comes to the outward, and at the same time some potassiums are attached with this particular channel proteins. So some potassiums attached with the channel proteins, because potassium concentration is higher in the inside and potassium concentration is lower in the outside. So after that, this pi, that is the inorganic phosphate dissociate from the sodium potassium ATPase transporter, and in the last step it backs to the normal position. And whenever it backs to the normal position, the potassiums are inside in the cytoplasm. So in this manner 3 sodiums are out from inside to outside, and at the same time 2 potassiums are in from outside to inside against their concentration gradient. In this type of manner, ATP is needed, that means the energy is needed. So this kind of phenomenon is known as active transport, along with endocytosis and exocytosis. In my previous videos I also discussed about the endocytosis and exocytosis process. So this is the whole mechanism of active transport and passive transport. I hope you like that video. If you like that video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.